What's up everybody, AKyemeni here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the classic mode beta test that Naughty Dog did for Uncharted 4 multiplayer over the weekend, and I'm just going to give you my impressions, thoughts, reactions to it. So I played the multiplayer beta test for about, I'd like to say 8 to 10 hours. I played with myself and I played, with a party, and I've gotten the gist of it, so I'm doing this out of a lot of experience. I didn't just play 2 or 3 matches and be like, let's make a video. So I'm gonna be talking a little bit about classic mode, what it did. It's basically no mysticals, no sidekicks, and heavy weapon spawns around the map at a fixed interval, and players are able to drop their weapons when they die so that others can pick them up. Boosters are still allowed though, and it's mostly going to be gun-on-gun fight with a bit of heavy weapons here or there. Now, this game mode is a bit of a fresh air, always whenever a mode drops, it's going to be a bit of fresh air because, Naughty Dog likes to take their time, dropping modes. So, initially I enjoyed it, it gave it different feel of the game, different movement, different gameplay style. So, initially I enjoyed it. But the more and more I played it, the novelty started to wear off, and I started noticing its flaws. For one thing, some guns are clearly better than others. This is due to the fact that the health is still the same, and that ammo does not drop from enemies when they get KO'd. So some guns are better than others, like the FAL, the Mazer, the DC revolver, the HS. The lack of ammo makes these guns being picked more than others because they have a high ammo count when you take into account their damage output. Other weapons that take a high amount of ammo that really burn through the ammo are really not used that much, like the XCR, the Copperhead. The P90 I still saw, but even then the people that were using the P90 were mostly in the dust. As a result of no sidekicks and no mysticals, a lot of people were just loading up on boosters and hero weapons. Hero weapons weren't usually taken a lot, in the other modes because you had to make room for mysticals and sidekicks, and maybe you picked 1 or 2 boosters, at most 3. I barely saw people using 4 boosters unless you were you're running pistol only or something. But for classic mode, you could only pick your gear, and you could only pick your boosters and your long gun and short arm. So people just loaded up in heavy weapons, so a lot of people that were lower level were mostly left in the dust in that regard, but that doesn't really make that much of a difference. The most popular of the boosters that I found was marking, because a lot of the boosters were made ineffective by classic mode, like scavenger, because nobody dropped ammo anymore, endowment, parting gift, any booster that took control that had to do with mysticals or sidekicks, you couldn't use them. So what most people ran with, I found, was marking. So every time you got shot, you were most likely going to be marked. So as a result of that, a lot of people, including me, just rolled with stealth too. Another thing that I noticed was that the movement doesn't match the mode. Now, the original, people complained about, the main multiplayer modes is that it's too much like Last of Us. It's too slow, and nothing ever gets done camping. But I've noticed those complaints more in classic mode than I did in regular modes, at least in with randoms and solo players. The problem, I think, is the health. The health stays the same. They haven't raised it or lowered it or whatever. So gunfights, they end too quickly because there's no down state. So 2 bursts with the FAL and that's it. That person is gone. And the gunfights, they end really quickly, but the movement, going from place to place, in a non-combat scenario, is very slow. There's no sprinting, the maps are huge, the character movement is a bit on the slow side. So, if you take all that into account, the movement seems really jarring, really. As a consequence of that, a lot of people are self-persevering. They want to preserve themselves, so camping is a lot. I've seen it happen a lot in classic. You know, a lot of people using ambush tactics. You know, they just hide behind cover, not necessarily camping in a corner, but just hiding behind cover, waiting for people to run by and just blind fire them. And you know, they don't have to worry about their teammates being close by, because so what? You just KO'd the person. You don't have to worry about downing and then KOing them. Just KO them straight away, and you don't have to worry about them anymore. And because there are no mysticals, no sidekicks, you know, no big heavy weapons like that, not heavy weapons, but mysticals more like it, a lot of people are successful in their camping. You know, I've seen a lot of people just camp in one area because they can't get flushed out. All people can do really is gear and maybe heavy weapons, but I'll get back to heavy weapons and why, you know, heavy weapons suck in classic mode. So, you know, gear, it runs on a recharge timer. So you're not gonna always have gear on your mind, and if you miss, then you gotta wait another 70 seconds or so, because gear is unupgraded. You can't upgrade it. You have no access to the store. So a lot of people just take on camping. You know, they camp with the FAL or the Mazer and whatever, and they just hide back because there's no real reason to push. You know, people pushed in all the game modes because the person is down and they have to confirm their kill. But they don't need to. You just get sniped from all the way in the back, and there's nothing that person can do about it. So. Classic mode encourages people to play to make sure that they, you know, preserve themselves. Because of the lack of a down state and the other factors that I mentioned below, like low ammo and whatever, there's a significant lack of play styles. You know, with the down state, you could be a medic, you know, and you know, revive people, and you know, carry med packs and Chintamani stones and all that. And with the SMGs, you know, you can run and gun, you can jump all over the place and do things, and you know, be a little bit more creative in your approach to the enemy. But with classic mode, you know, it was more really just stand back, have your hand, you know, have your body behind cover, and just shoot out, try to KO the person. And the super duper OP thing is body shot wizardry, notably with the Mazer and the quickscope, a DC revolver, and Gunslinger 3. You just gotta quickscope them once and then shoot them with the DC revolver when you switch your weapons, and that's it. They're KO'd. You don't gotta worry about them anymore. And I don't want to make this video too long, but classic mode, I think, was supposed to emulate the feel of Uncharted 3 or Uncharted 2. Most people wanted Uncharted 2 for some reason, but it doesn't feel like either of those games. I played both of them. The game feels a bit more campy. It doesn't feel like Uncharted. It feels like a tacked-on multiplayer because you have all these things stripped out, and the game really wasn't designed from the ground up to incorporate a classic mode, and you really feel it. I know some people, you know, are enjoying it. You know, I enjoyed it too, but I could definitely see it not having any staying power. The maps weren't designed for classic mode. The weapons weren't designed for classic mode. The movement, the gunfights, they really weren't designed for classic mode. So when you just strip all these ideas out and you put them and you put it as a mode, some things just don't work out plainly. And like I said, even though it was enjoyable for some, and for me, you know, I enjoyed it, it got boring relatively quick because every game just ended up being the same. Maybe people like that, but I don't. One last thing I'd like to mention is that the heavy weapons, I forgot to mention it before, but the heavy weapons, you know, were designed to, well, at least in this mode, to encourage people to just run around, you know, to get this power weapon, so, you know, they have the advantage over other people. My problem with that is that the heavy weapons aren't good enough to do that. There's plenty of times, plenty of people, they just don't bother picking up the heavy weapons because they know their loadout weapons are better. Why should I go out of my way to get a Barak or a China Lake when I could just KO them faster with the Mazer plus the DC revolver? It makes no sense. And like I said, the heavy weapons were designed for a store system. You know, they weren't designed to be these OP area of denial weapons that, you know, it was special to get, you had to go get it. The maps, the games weren't really designed to have, you know, those OP weapons like they would in an original Uncharted game. I think my main problem was that classic mode was just TDM, and TDM usually is relatively boring for me. I mean, I'll play it every now and then, but I prefer objective modes. Objective, you know, there's something to go towards. In classic, there's really nothing to go towards. You're just running around, you know, looking for people. and you're not really looking for heavy weapons that much, because you know they suck. You know, the loadout weapons are massively better, and you know, when it comes down to it, it's just not fun. I mean, it was a good change of pace, but I don't think it has any staying power, like I said before. The good things about classic mode, though, are, you know, the pickup weapons from, you know, downed KO'd enemies. I think that's a nice touch, and I think they should incorporate that to the other game modes. You know, there's no net negative to it, so I don't see really why not. And a curious thing that I found was that starting ammo mod for the weapons was actually useful in this mode, because a lot of times you just like wasted ammo, and you know, if you're using a weapon that, you know, you don't see other people using, which wasn't that, you know, hard in the first place, but you know, if you put starting ammo on, you don't really have to worry about running out of ammo. So I just found that a little bit weird. With that said, tell me what you guys think of classic mode. Do you think, you know, it should be something permanent? You think it was something really fun? You see yourself playing it more than the other modes? Tell me what you guys think. What I think that playlist should be just a lab playlist in which they rotate the rule sets every now and then, including, you know, having strict mechanics or having a classic mode. But I think it should be like a weekly or a bi-weekly thing where, you know, they change the rule sets, and I think, you know, that'll get people coming back together, you know, just to play the game. You know, having different rule sets, I think that would be a bit fun. So with that said, I think this video dragged on a bit longer than I wanted to, so peace out, guys.